Vintage Backyard RC.
Hello friends, welcome to Vintage Backyard RC. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that little intro video. We decided to have some fun because today's a great day. It marks our very first shootout video on the new track surface. And it's between the Tamiya Wild One and the Tamiya Fox. Now on paper, these two cars couldn't be any more different. The Wild One perhaps being Tamiya's most scale-like car ever produced, and the Fox perhaps being their first production out-of-the-box race car. So, you might ask yourself, why have a shootout between two cars that are so very different? Well, there's a good reason for that. In 1985, around the holiday season, if you were shopping for a Tamiya two-wheel drive buggy, these two guys were the new kids on the block. You walked into your hobby shop, you saw that amazing box art, and you or your folks had to decide scale realism or race car. So how do the two stack up? Well, before we find out, let's see what makes these two cars tick. Released in September of 1985, the Wild One was perhaps Tamiya's most scale model to date. Patterned after the side-by-side off-road buggies of the 80s, Tamiya went full in on scale appearance and realism. The Wild One had a familiar ABS bathtub-style chassis, functional plastic roll cage, and a lightweight Lexan scale-appearing body. This thing looked wicked. The Wild One featured oil-filled shocks that dampened front and rear trailing arm independent suspension. Perhaps with lesson learned from the Frog, the rear trailing arm system was more robust and had better bracing, although they did decide to keep the troublesome rear hex drive dogbone system. The Wild One had all new rear wheels, rear tires borrowed from the Hotshot, and a newly designed front wheel and tire package. The Wild One also had an adjustable gear ratio. This was done by changing the pinion gear and mounting the motor to a different location to adjust for gear mesh. Oh yeah, let's not forget about Tamiya's big block Mabuchi 540 motor. Released in October of 1985, the Fox was perhaps Tamiya's first attempt at an off-road competition buggy. The Fox featured a two-piece clamshell ABS bathtub-style chassis, and perhaps borrowing some technology from the Hotshot, Tamiya finally gave us dual A-arm independent rear suspension dampened by oversized CVA oil-filled shocks. The front end featured independent dual upper and lower control arms, dampened by a single oversized CVA shock, while the steering knuckles pivoted on 4 ball-and-socket ball joints to aid in steering articulation. The Fox featured an adjustable rear gear ratio, upgraded rear hex drive dogbone system, rear wheels and tires patterned after the Wild One and Hotshot, and of course the Mabuchi Big Block 540 motor. The lightweight Lexan body was sleek, long, and lean, and ready for racing. On a little personal note, this runner body actually belonged to my best friend growing up in the 80s. He gave me his car way back then. Pretty darn cool, huh? It's time for a little shootout. Well, that was absolutely amazing, guys. We got both cars in on the first take, and better yet, we didn't break any parts for the very first time. Bonus. So, which one's faster? I will tell you, I couldn't tell until I actually checked the lap times. So without further ado, the Wild One did it in 11.53 seconds, our fastest Tamiya so far. So was the Fox faster, or was the Fox slower? The Tamiya Fox did it in 11.16 seconds, our fastest Tamiya so far. I tell you what, they were both a blast to drive. I drive them any day of the week. Let's hit the slow motion, take a closer look, have a chat. You guys comment down in the comment section. Stand by. Wow, so what do I think, guys? Well, I know one thing, I didn't break any cars, and that's awesome. Second, these things are amazing to drive. I now have two great Tamiya cars in my stable that I won't be afraid to take out on the track whenever I want. Perhaps some changes to the track that I made, and having a car with actual suspension was a big help on this one. Performance-wise, that 540 motor is the perfect size for both of these chassis. I think maybe the Fox can take a little more power. We'll see in the future. Because I try to run these cars as stock as possible, I couldn't make any adjustments to them to make them go quicker. That Fox could definitely use a front sway bar. I think it'll be in the 10s if I add that. And the Wild One, well, that needs different sized rear pistons in the shocks. It kind of bottoms out on every jump. Those are easy adjustments to make. Maybe I'll do them next year and we'll see how it goes. Because I've driven my Fox a couple times before, I know how it enters and exits a corner. That's why that front sway bar is pretty important, and why I was missing it during this shoot. What I was most impressed with was the Wild One. I've never driven one, and trailing arm suspension leaves a lot to be desired. But I think with a few small tweaks, this thing can really bust out a good lap. We'll have to see about that next year. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. I know it was a little bit long, but with two cars, we had a lot of footage. As always, please subscribe, hit that like button, and please talk to me down below in the comment section. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Oh yeah, rock on.